Texas or is Oklahoma number one? Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, previewing the Big 12 championship game. It's the game that we determined as our preseason selection for the Big 12 championship, Texas and Oklahoma, with the Longhorns winning. Do they win in our prediction scenario right now, though? We picked them in August, but it's Oklahoma and Texas. And, of course, the Sooners playing for the playoff. I don't know if that's a bigger incentive if you're playing for the playoff, or is that more pressure versus just playing for the Big 12 championship, just the Big 12 championship, which, of course, in my world, the perfect world, would equal a college football playoff appearance with 8 teams at least. Texas comes in at number 14 in the college football playoff rankings, so unless I'm missing something with 3 losses, they've got no shot of making the top 4. They finished 7-2 in the Big 12, and of course, they're only in this game because they kicked a game-winning field goal against Oklahoma to win 48-45 in the Red River rivalry game, and the Sooners only lost at 8-1, 11-1 overall. This is just the 3rd time in the series history that the 2 teams have played twice in one season, and the other 2 times I don't believe we have any highlights from. 1901 and 1903. This is the 114th overall time that Texas has met Oklahoma. And I'm not going to say that this one means more than the others, that there hasn't been a other game, because throughout the 90s especially, and into the 2000s, I should say, post-2000, the Mac Brown era of Texas football, along with Bob Stoops, played a number of times in which the winner eventually won the Big 12 and made it to a BCS championship game. All right, Oklahoma's gunning for a 4th consecutive Big 12 championship. Texas has not won the Big 12 since 2009, that famous win by 1 point, 13-12, with 1 second left on the clock when Colt McCoy threw it out of bounds against Nebraska, and the scorekeeper kept the 1 second on the clock, and they kicked the game-winning field goal, losing at 12-10 to make it to the BCS championship game at the Rose Bowl against Alabama. All right. Texas won, of course, again, 48-45 earlier this season. It was a seesaw battle in the first half. They had each team their spurts. Texas led 45-24, and during that spurt in which they took it from a tie game or a one-score game out to 45-24, the difference was the elite athleticism on the Texas defense. Not saying the defense is elite, but they've recruited elite athletes, and some of those freshmen, B.J. Foster, Cade Stearns, getting pressure in Kyler Murray's face, surrounding him, not letting him loose to gain big gains with his legs. That was the difference in the game in stopping Oklahoma. They had about a 4-drive stretch in which they stopped the Sooners. And that's very difficult to do. Kyler scored the 3 touchdowns to bring back Oklahoma to a tie game at 45, and then Sam Ehlinger considered the offense had stalled. They had played too conservative, especially considering that they were playing Oklahoma. And with 7 or 8 minutes left in the game, leading by 3 touchdowns, the game's not over. Yes, you play more conservatively. You see if you can run for 7 or 8 yards on first down. You kill the play clock, but you don't pack it in. That's what Texas did, and sometimes it's difficult to get jump-started the second time when the other team comes back to tie or take the lead. But that's what Texas did under the guidance of Sam Ehlinger. He led a 50-yard game-winning field goal drive. He threw a key 18-yard pass to Devin Duvernay. He also had 2 key 3rd down conversion runs. The first one went for a 4-yard scramble on 3rd and 3. Then also he ran for 8 yards, which was key in positioning Texas for the game-winning field goal from 40 yards. All right, Ehlinger is a much better quarterback than he was at this point last year. He's still a leader. He's still a gamer. He will still take on safeties and linebackers, lowering the shoulder when he needs to barrel for an extra yard or 2, or break tackles and get further downfield. He will take on tacklers. He's a tough kid. He's a leader, but he's become a much more proficient and polished passer. 24 for 35 for 314 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 72 yards rushing with no picks in the first meeting with Oklahoma. He's gone from a 57% passer last year to 64%. 11 touchdowns, 7 picks last year, to 23-4. He did not throw an interception between Game 1 and Game 12. He had the 2 against Maryland, 2 against Kansas. Texas fans hope that that's not a harbinger of things to come, the 2 picks against Kansas last week, but that Ehlinger reverts to what he's done the entire season, and that's been basically flawless in turning the ball over. Lil Jordan Humphrey and Colin Johnson abused Oklahoma's secondary in the first matchup. They're big, tall, physical receivers that have a huge advantage over the smallish Oklahoma DBs. Lil Jordan Humphrey has 72 catches this year for over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Colin Johnson, 57 for 768 and 6 touchdowns. Again, the high point of football. They are too physical for the Oklahoma corners, and that is key in this game. The Texas running game is better than it's been in previous seasons. A couple years ago with a 4-minute running back, they were a wrecking crew because they had no passing attack, and he got the ball all the time, and he ran for 2,000 yards. But in 2017, they were awful on the ground, mostly due to the offensive line. But with the senior freshman combination of Trey Watson and Keontae Ingram running for, about 1,300 yards total, 6 touchdowns, about 4.8 yards per carry combined, they at least can run the ball to take some pressure off of the pass. And, of course, Ehlinger provides kind of a third running back of sorts. The young defense got off to a rough start in certain games. They lost so much NFL talent from a excellent, by far the best, along with TCU, the best defense in the Big 12 last year with Deshaun Elliott, Poona Ford, Holton Hill, Malik Jefferson. So the defense had to develop, and I think right now it, along with Iowa State, is the best unit in the Big 12. Gary Johnson leads the team in tackles with 74. He was suspended for unspecified team rules violations against Kansas last week. We expect him to be back. He had 14 tackles for loss this season as well. Chris Boyd's a player, as well as Cade Stearns. We mentioned him. He's got 4 picks. B.J. Foster with 7 tackles for loss, and also Charles Omenihu with 14 tackles for loss and 8.5 sacks. All right. Oklahoma, of course, is special on offense. They lead the country in points and points per play, yards per play, total offense, passing offense, all the way across the board. They are the best offense in college football. But let's understand that they've done this against mostly bad defenses and some marginal defenses. The best defense they have played this year is probably either Texas or Iowa State or West Virginia. And after West Virginia's performance last week, I would say that they're definitely not the best defense that Texas has faced in running up almost 700 yards of total offense and 59 points, although the 2 touchdowns were also scored by the defense. So the offense scored 45 points. Kyler Murray is special. He's maybe not better than Tua Tagovailoa, but he is more important to this team by far. Take Tua off the Tide, they still go 12-0. They're not leading 35-0 at the half all the time, but they're still 12-0. Take Kyler Murray from Oklahoma, and who do they lose to? Maybe Army? Maybe Iowa State? Maybe West Virginia? On and on and on. They might be 8-4 right now. The offensive line is excellent. It's the best in the Big 12. It's been the best in the Big 12, and this is something that's been understated because the flashy outside players, the running backs, the Rodney Andersons of the world, and the Trey Sermons and Hollywood Browns, they get the attention. And, of course, the quarterback, and rightfully so, they're special. But the offensive line makes it work. Creed Humphrey leads a unit that, again, is the best in the conference, despite losing players to the NFL from last season's squad. The defense is awful. How do they win with this defense? Well, they somehow make it happen. If we could somehow level out the playing field and measure defenses across the nation, they're still bad enough to be they're probably a top 50 to 60 defense. I'm including the group of 5 teams. But of course, once you throw them up against the top-level offenses in the Big 12 and the style of play, and considering their offense, Oklahoma gets off the field after scoring so quickly typically that the Texas or the Oklahoma defense has to play a lot of football. They're still bad, but that kind of amplifies how awful they are. They've given up 40 points 4 consecutive games. The only team in the poll era since 1936, a ranked team to give up 40-plus points 4 consecutive weeks. But this team has to be confident. They're Oklahoma. They seem to always win the Big 12. It's in the Big 12, and if it means something, Oklahoma wins. I am wrestling with this one. I still have not picked this game, and I'm sitting right here ready to give a prediction. I do know that I will take Texas plus 7.5 points for sure. Oklahoma, Texas. When they played in the Cotton Bowl and they played on grass, that may have slowed the game on just enough for Texas to hang. When they get on that carpet in Jerry's world, wow, Kyler Murray's going to be tough to stop in the open field, and all the playmaking ability by Oklahoma. Sooners win 42-38. Oklahoma 42 and Texas 38, the final score in the Big 12 championship game. Would love to get your results. Need your predictions and comments right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please sign up for our newsletter. You can do that by sending your email address to mine, MarkRogersTV@gmail. Just send your email address to MarkRogersTV@gmail. Sign up for the newsletter, the voice of college football, coming your way each and every Monday. And again, we'll be back with more previews and predictions right here at Mark Rogers TV.